Oh joy, another Jumanji movie. Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to Ashley Talks Movies. Today I'm going to be doing a review of Jumanji, The Next Level, which is a sequel to 2017's Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. And the gang's all back. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's back, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, Gillan. And they're even joined by some newcomers, Danny DeVito and Danny Glover. But this time around, the story is very similar but slightly different in that Spencer, back from college, decides to go back into the game, and that causes his friends to have to reunite and go back into the game in order to save him. But their plans slightly go awry because this time around the game is broken. Yeah. So how does Jumanji, The Next Level, Jumanji 2, stack up to its predecessor? Well, let's just get straight to the review. So before I get too deep into the review, I just want to say that I actually enjoyed 2017's Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. I was actually pleasantly surprised by that film. I had very low expectations going into it. I thought, based on the trailers, that it looked really silly and dumb, but when I watched it, I actually had a lot of fun with it. There was a lot of humor. It was just an enjoyable movie. I laughed a lot. It was just fun. Okay, so when I saw that they were going to do a sequel, because of course they were going to do a sequel because the other movie made tons of money, I thought, okay, well, let's see what they have to offer this time around. And for the most part, Jumanji 2, Jumanji, The Next Level, is very similar to Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. They changed some things around, but it's almost like a template of what the previous movie was. And sadly, it's not able to recapture the magic and the fun and the humor that was in the previous film, which is a shame because you have Jack Black back, Kevin Hart back, The Rock is back, Gillan's back, and then you have the Dannys. The Dannys are in this, but it just didn't quite work for me. The key word I should say for this movie is more. More. It seems like the filmmakers were intent on taking what was really good about the previous film and doing more of that. And I don't think that was necessarily a good decision. So there's more action than the other film. There's more jokes. There are more jokes. And there's more set pieces and there's more complexity to the story, which just makes everything more of a mess. That's what it ended up being. It's just more of a mess. So I mentioned before that, you know, Danny DeVito and Danny Glover are in this movie, and it's interesting that they added them in it, because I think what I really liked about the previous film, I keep saying the first film, but the first film had Robin Williams in it. But the previous film, the 2017 film, what I enjoyed about it was the group dynamic. And I liked the fish out of water type way they were doing the story. So, you know, you have these four teenagers. They're put into this video game, and as they're learning the rules of the video game, you, the audience, is learning the rules of the video game as well. And, you know, it modernizes Jumanji because the first film was a board game, and then in the new film, it was you know, a video game. So I like that aspect. You know, everyone's trying to learn their powers, and they're learning the game and the rules of the game and what it all means. And, like, you know, as they're going through the movie, they're learning about, you know, their lives. And then, you know, they only have 3, and then if you get to the end, that's it. And so they try to recapture that in this one, in The Next Level. But it to me, it only comes off as repetitive, because it's like, we've already done this before. We've already seen this. And so they try to do that with the Danny DeVito, Danny Glover characters, because, you know, they bring them in, so they're sort of the fish out of water, and they're trying to understand the game, the rules of the game. The problem with that is that they're older people, and so they really really lay on thick the old people jokes, like to the point where it was just a constant running joke throughout this movie, like so many times. And after the third time, it was like, okay, guys, we get it. They're old. They're old, and they don't know what a video game is, and they're hard of hearing, and they're confused, and it was just so repetitive that I just was kind of like rolling my eyes through most of those parts. There's more action. Some of it works really well, some of it doesn't. As I mentioned before, there's more story, but I think it just complicated things. I think again, one of the things I really enjoyed about the 2017 film was that for the most part, the story is pretty streamlined, right? It was easy to follow. It wasn't too convoluted, and it was just very tight and concise. And with this one, it's just more, and there's far more characters. So I mean, you have The Rock, you have Kevin Hart, you have Jack Black, you have Karen Gillan, but then you have Danny Glover, you have Danny DeVito, and then you have a couple of other actors who I'm not going to mention. I'm not going to say who they are, that show up as surprises in this film as well, and then they're kind of a bit of a focus at times. And then you have the aspect that was from the 2017 film where, the teenagers are different people within the game, and so they have different avatars. And in this time, in this movie, they've kind of flipped the script on that a little bit too, where the people you think would be certain avatars aren't those avatars, and then they switch. And so there's a lot of stuff going on here, and there's more jokes, but not all the jokes land. In fact, some of the jokes were this, as I mentioned before, about the old people jokes. Some of the other jokes are very repetitive too. So you have just this sort of almost copy paste of the previous film, with a few things switched around. More characters, more jokes, more action, and just more story than we needed. And even though this movie isn't very long, it feels very long because it's just, there's so much repetition, and there's so, I don't know. It didn't really work for me. I will say that of the things that did work, Kevin Hart is really great in this film. And I say this as someone who's not usually a fan of Kevin Hart. Like, I could do without him. I don't really, seek out his movies. But he does a really great job with what they give him, with the character, the main character that he's playing in the film. And if of the jokes that work, most of them come from Kevin Hart, and he does a really great job. Jack Black's great too, and The Rock's okay, but I think what they did with The Rock's character, at least in the first half of the film, doesn't quite work for him, and it doesn't. The Rock is really good with action, and I think when you take that away from him, and he has to do more acting, that's not really his strongest suit. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a decent actor, but he's a decent actor when he's doing the action-y thing, and in the first part of the film, he's not quite doing that, so it just doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't quite work. Yeah, the previous film, the 2017 film, definitely is much better than the sequel, and the sequel, I think, just tries too hard and tries to do too much at once. It wasn't as fun as the previous film, and it wasn't as interesting or engaging. So, yeah. Oh, should mention this in case any of you are wondering. So Jumanji, The Next Level, does have a mid-credit scene. It's not anything major, but there is a mid-credit scene, and it definitely sets up the possibility of another film. Duh. And then at the very end of the film, there is an end credit. It's not a scene, but it's like an end credit moment. Um, if you really want to stay to the very end, there's something there. It's not a lot, so don't stay to the very end just for this moment because it's not anything big at all. But there is a little moment, and so if you're one of those that you're inclined to stay to the very end once the credits are completely done, there is a little bit of something there as well. Yeah, so anyway, those are my thoughts about Jumanji: The Next Level. Let me know what you think about the movie in the comment section below. I'd love to get your take on the film, especially if you liked it more than the previous film, or if you think the sequel wasn't as strong. Again, just let me know. Please share and like this review, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button.